Welcome to the DNA Talks podcast, where we take on the mission of unlocking the code of your genetics. This season is all about you, upgrading your health not just on the surface, but down to the root cause. Join us as your clinicians at the DNA company investigate your DNA and beyond. The intention of this podcast is to enhance your lifestyle by changing what is in your control. This does not substitute the medical advice given by your personal doctor, therapist, and other healthcare professionals.
Hello, and welcome to another edition to the DNA Talks podcast. My name is Dr. Lara Varden. I'm an in-house clinician here at the DNA Company and Dean of the DNA University. And today I have such a delight to welcome back one of my dear friends, one of my favorite people on this planet, Roudy Nassif. He is founder and CEO of VivaRays, for any of you out there who may not have heard of him or who may not have caught up on our past episodes, which, by the way, this happens to be the fourth time that we are graced with his brilliance, his presence, and his dedication to health and wellness. So Roudy he's first of all, he's amazing, gives great hugs. And he's also at the cutting edge of circadian health as a renowned engineer, wellness entrepreneur, martial artist, and light expert. He's a visionary. He is the visionary behind VivaRays, leading the light revolution and innovating tools to harmonize the bad effects of artificial light coming from our omnipresent screens and indoor light bulbs. Beyond just selling the product, Roudy is on a quest to help more than 1 billion individuals experience the freedom, flow, and vitality of living in rhythm with nature's light and dark cycles and reaping the bountiful rewards of improved sleep, improved energy levels, and overall well-being. His signature product, the circadian light-harmonizing eyewear, is but a facet of his broader vision to recalibrate humanity's connection with the light-dark cycle. And with his deep understanding of the quantum biological effects of light on health, Roudy has been instrumental in enlightening over thousands of health professionals, equipping them with actionable insights and tools they need to transform their own light environments and elevate their well-being. Roudy envisions a world where every space, be it an office, gym, home, or urban street, is bathed in light that nourishes and aligns our circadian rhythms, empowering us all to live in rhythm, thrive vibrantly, and awaken our inner light. Roudy, oh my gosh, I am so glad you are back. How are you doing?
Yeah, doing wonderful. I'm in Peru, experiencing a nice, cozy winter here, and I'm really loving it. Up at 4,000 meter in elevation in Cusco, and working a lot, diving into ways of how we can be more of service at VivaRays, and doing great hikes and exploring the Inca trails.
Wow, that sounds so amazing. So are you in an area where it's a bit closer to nature, not as much of city light pollution or, being at such a high elevation? I mean, it's quite a different environmentally speaking.
Yeah, I mean, for the past 5 years or so, every place I lived in is pretty much in a rural area. I selectively pick the places to be nested in the heart of nature because that's essentially the environment that nourishes me the most. That's where I could serve the most, and that's where I could tap into my highest potential. I definitely, in a house, I always look to be in a place that is blessed with a lot of natural light, that has access to the earth, so that I could open my door and simply walk and feel the earth underneath my ground, underneath my feet, and definitely choosing places that are not congested with a lot of people around. And because often people still, unfortunately, unconsciously use a lot of artificial lighting at night, and that's why we exist. We exist essentially to wake people up about the truth there is to light and the power that holds that. So hopefully in 10, 20 years from now, we could re-access cities where we don't need to run away all the time, and be in environments that are lit with lights that do not disrupt our circadian biology, our sleep, our mood, and our health.
That's just amazing. And it is so incredible how you have recognized that your environment so it impacts you so profoundly, and that you know the environments where you do work best, where it provides you that essence of ideas and fresh thought, and the way you know you work best, think best, that you are your best. And honestly, I think that a lot of us need to tap into that awareness even more. So, I mean, it'd be amazing what we can actually accomplish when we start doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so many people today talk about the nervous system and how important to have a regulated nervous system. However, what's absolutely shocking to me that there's very few people who actually understand the connection between light and the nervous system. And it turns out that artificial light at night literally floods our body with cortisol. And what's absolutely shocking is that the body starts acting as though it's running away from a predator. And back in the 1970s, there's a scientist called Fritz Holwisch from Germany. He actually was able to prove that. And here's how he proved it. He observed a group of people who had cataracts in their eyes, meaning no sunlight could pass through their eye, through their retina into their brain. And what he noticed is that their hormones were an absolute mess. Their cortisol and adrenaline were abnormally low. So he took that same group of people, and after the cataract was removed surgically, what he noticed was absolutely fascinating. Their hormones came back to normal, just like flower blooming after the winter. And cortisol and adrenaline normalized again. So that's when Fritz Hollisch asked himself a very interesting question. He said, what will happen if I bring a group of healthy individuals and I put them under fluorescent junk light? And what he noticed was absolutely shocking, because essentially their bodies was responding as though there was a predator that was chasing them. Their body was flooded with cortisol and adrenaline. So, with that being said, artificial light has a tremendously negative impact on our nervous system. And most people today speak about nervous system regulation, but they have no idea how the environment that they're sitting in is essentially disrupting their nervous system. And I tell people, perhaps you don't have a nervous system problem. Perhaps you have a light problem, even a sound problem. And that brings us back to my choice of when I choose where to live, I choose to live in places that are in harmony with Mother Nature. Because essentially, when you step into Mother Nature, the light that you receive in nature, as well as the sound, is balance, rhythmic, light, and sound that our biology have evolved around and our nervous system recognize, and it actually soothes us. And what we don't realize is that when we shove ourselves inside those concrete box under flickering, buzzing, fluorescent, and LED lights, it's literally cooking our brain from the inside out and overstimulating our nervous system. It's an environment that we haven't evolved around.
Yeah, and I mean, this brings me to the thought, and I know this is something that we talked about a little bit before we started recording, was the association of light and mental health, and how your glasses can fit into that. But I mean, as you were saying about how you were reading in these research papers, and your knowledge about that intricate link between light or lack thereof, or the wrong types of light, cortisol, stress, hormones. Um, these are all very much linked and directly affect mental health, especially through the circadian, the brain's circadian biology, which, I mean, this is your realm, this is your wheelhouse, and we're talking about stress response, endocrine signaling. Uh, it's absolutely amazing how people not truly understanding the incredible impact that the right kinds of light at the certain times of day, in that circadian rhythm. I mean, that light dark that I was talking about, that you so prominently want to make sure to educate people about and to make sure they get into that to be healthier, to be better. Before we dive into that a little bit more, I wanted to ask you, and I know I had mentioned this some in the intro, but when people think of like blue light blocker glasses, which VivaRays are, there's a lot of companies out there. There's, other blue light blockers, and, there's some at the grocery store, that are, these cheap pairs and, everything else. And people think, oh, well, blue light blockers, well, what makes this different? Why VivaRays? So
Yeah,
tell me why. Tell our
yeah,
audience why.
yeah, absolutely. So, just for a little context, that after my experience on the farm and after relearning how to live back in rhythm with nature's light and dark cycle, that event did not only transform my life, it literally gave me my life back.
Mm-hmm.
So I became absolutely obsessed about solving the light problem and about learning every study, every book, everything that I could find on the science of light so that I could solve the light problem. And across the time, it was like 4 or 5 years where I was traveling between the city and the farm, living with indigenous people up north, and documenting every shift in my sleep, in my energy, in my mood. So essentially, that's when I learned about blue blocking glasses. And I got really excited. And I remember that moment. I was with my sister and my former partner. And when we first learned about blue blocking glasses, we felt absolutely relieved because we thought, wow, like finally a tool that will help us to mitigate the effects of artificial light when we go back to the city. Because during that time, it was an intense contrast. Living on the farm, feeling absolutely wonderful, and then going back to the city. And within a matter of a few weeks, I start noticing that it all comes crashing back at me. The night owl tendency, the fog, the depression. So when I learned about blue blocking glasses, I was absolutely excited and fascinated with the concept. And the first pair that I got my hand on was a pair of clear blue blocking glasses from an optometrist office, which I paid for something like $250 or $300.
Mm-hmm.
And we religiously wore those blue blockers. My sister, my former partner, and I, thinking to ourselves that we just cracked the code to solving the light problem. But within a few days, we noticed that there was no change, no magic, nothing happened. And I start wondering why is though. And then I start laughing at myself because, as you may know, I was trained as an engineer and I understand the physics of light very well. But one of the simplest thing, even a little kid could realize, because kids are fascinated by the color theory. They take different colors, they mix them together. And what you will notice is that the opposite of the color blue on the color wheel is actually orange. So when you mix orange and blue light, they cancel each other out. So physically speaking, it's impossible to actually filter out blue light without an actual melanin pigmentation dye that has an orangey tint. And when I realized this, I was laughing a lot at myself, and essentially I was really curious to understand, like, why is it that optometrists are still selling those clear blue blocking glasses? So I wanted to run an experiment and to see exactly what those lenses were doing. And what I learned was absolutely shocking. I essentially got the spectrocolorimeter, which is a tool that measures the light that is present in any given environment. And when I took a test with those clear lenses, what I noticed is that they were blocking the blue purple light between 380 and 410 nanometer, which is great. However, here's the shocking truth: the blue light that you're exposed to from artificial lighting and from LEDs, it doesn't emit any blue purple light below 420 nanometer. The emission starts at 430 nanometer, it spikes at 455 nanometer, and it goes down. So essentially, those clear blue blocking glasses were blocking the wrong frequency. It's as though you're trying to rinse your quinoa with a pasta strainer. The quinoa will pass through the holes because it's the wrong filter. So, learning that, I started doing even further research, and I learned about those color tinted glasses. And I'm like, boom, that's it. So I remember buying those dark yellow tinted glasses from a company. And when I purchased the pair, I spoke with their customer support and they advised me to wear that pair from morning till night. So I didn't question it a lot back then. And I naively listened to them. And within a matter of few days, I noticed that my headaches and my eye strain disappeared during the day. So that was a plus. But what I started noticing is that I was starting to get those intense crash of energies, feeling exhausted at noon. And then I was wondering, what is the relationship between my exhaustion and wearing those yellow tinted glasses? And what I realized is that those glasses were over blocking the blue light. Essentially, on one side, they were helping me reduce eye strain because they eliminated the inflammatory frequency, that narrow spike of blue light at 455 nanometer. However, here's what they also did that was absolutely disrupting to my biology. They also eliminated the blue turquoise at 480 nanometer. Now, why is that important? Because the blue turquoise is the frequency of light that melanopsin, the protein in the eye that is sensitive to light and that tells the brain that it's daytime, is most sensitive to. So when we accidentally block this frequency during the day, we send a signal to the brain that it's afternoon, and the body start suppressing our energy levels and our metabolic energy. And therefore, we start feeling exhausted and low on energy at the wrong time of the day. So this company was well intended. However, they were misusing their product. They did not have enough context because they gave me the wrong advice. They said you need to wear those glasses all day long, where in fact, those glasses would have been better for me to wear in the afternoon, and they are definitely detrimental to wear during the day. Now, what I start realizing is that the whole topic of blocking blue light is not as simple as most companies make it to be. And I decided to look back into nature. And what I realized is that during the day, there's a ton of blue light and sunlight. So sunlight is very rich in the blue. And why is that blue beneficial to us, you may ask? It's because this blue is balanced and proportionate with the polar opposite, yellow, orange, and red light. So if you think about it, across all of our evolution, we've never been exposed to blue light in isolation. Blue light always synergistically come with other frequencies of colors, and those colors balance out that blue light. Now, blue light in nature is a stimulating degenerative color. It increases what we call reactive oxygen species. But this is not necessarily something bad because exercise also increases our reactive oxygen species. However, exercise is good for us. Now, it could become bad if we're continuously exercising without resting. So in the same way, there's this polar opposite relationship between blue light and yellow, orange, and red light. They must come together. One is degenerative, the other one is regenerative. And when they come together, this degenerative, regenerative effect cause a balance effect. And that's what we get from sunlight. When we are exposing ourselves to a screen, for instance, like right now, we have this narrow spike, not even full spectrum blue light, and it's not balanced with other frequencies of colors. So how could we solve this? We don't want to eliminate the blue, but also we don't want to expose ourselves to an inflammatory frequency that floods our body with inflammation. So that's how I was able to come up with the daytime solution, which essentially harmonizes the blue light instead of blocking it. So to visualize this, if you're looking at a graph where there's this narrow spike of blue light, these glasses, instead of blocking this spike and being reductionist, they're decreasing its sharpness and they're spreading that blue light across the whole spectrum. So now we're getting a bigger spike in the yellow, orange, and red light. And that essentially balances out that blue. And that is the difference between the VivaRays daytime glasses and most other either clear tinted glasses or dark yellow tinted glasses on the market.
Well, I'll tell you, I love how you unpacked the nuances in that. You know, all of these little details, all of the different frequencies, whether they were being blocked or whether there's synergism in them, that you have taken the time, the energy, the focus to figure that out, and the timing of which to do it, because it's not like you wear these from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed. Not necessarily. There's a little difference in there as well. Did you want to speak into the fact, and for those people who are just listening, I'm wearing my VivaRays, and as is Roudy. And also with these is we have, well, you have, for the ones that I have that I purchased, the magnetic add-ons where it's a darker orange lens, and then we have the red lens. And can you just briefly say the importance of each of these additional lenses that you just put right on and add that? And by the way, I am going to mention, and I'm sure Roudy will too, that when you have the orange lenses, if you're adding that on, that you just have the orange lenses. When you switch out to the red, you take the orange off and you just wear the red. So anyway, I will let you discuss the little details on how to use that.
Yeah, so in order to visualize those nuances, I'd like you to imagine yourself that you just woke up in a beautiful Peru in the mountains. You go outside, and as the sun is rising, there's all these beautiful colors in the sky. And you'll notice that the sky is more warm during the time of the sunrise. And slowly, as the sun starts going up in the sky, the blue and green lights start slowly increasing. And then the UV light will appear in the environment. And then the sun will continue moving up in the sky until it hits 12 noon, the highest position in the sky. And as the sun is moving towards the highest position in the sky, the amount and the brightness of light is increasing. And also, the amount of blue light that we're getting is essentially increasing. And then, as the day starts flipping toward the end of the day, the sun starts descending down. And as the sun descends down, the amount of blue and green light starts slowly decreasing until we hit sunset. And then the sky will slowly flips over into darkness. Now, why is that important? Because in nature, light is dynamic. It's continuously changing from moment to moment. And the amount of light and the color temperature of light that you're getting is constantly changing. And this change in the light acts as information that is essentially telling your body what time of the day it is, so that your body takes this information, spread it into your cells and to your organs, so that you could orchestrate the timing of when you secrete different hormones. And when the body secretes the right hormone at the right time, great. The issue happens is when the body secretes the wrong hormone at the wrong time. So essentially, why is that important to our conversation? It's important because in nature, the light is constantly changing, meaning when you wear any technology to filter out blue light, this technology must also change the way it's filtering light to align with the light outside. And therefore, the daytime glasses, they're only worn during the day when you're exposed to artificial lighting, never outside. When you go outside, you want to expose yourself and your eyes to unfiltered sunlight, because every frequency of the sun is actually has a nutritional value. Just like when you eat food, you have the full spectrum of vitamins and minerals that are absolutely necessary to nourish you. When you break down the white light of the sun, you have so many different frequency, and it turns out that every frequency has a nutritional value, and it has the power to activate different enzymes in the body that activate our metabolic processes and enhances our ability to repair and rejuvenate. So we don't want to be blocking sunlight when we go outside. And now, how do we align the light information coming through our eyes with the light outside when we are living in a modern world where we're shoved into concrete boxes and sitting under artificial light that is static and never changes? This is where this technology comes in. When you are inside and it's daytime, you're wearing the daytime lenses. Right after the sunset, the brain is expecting a very different type of light. So let me help you visualize this. Imagine yourself to be around a beautiful bonfire. It's mesmerizing, 10 lux of natural brightness. The light is warm. This is the light that your brain and your biology is expecting after the sunset. Now, go with me to your living room. LED lights in the ceiling, TV is glowing, phone in the hand, even the light of the fridge. See, this is not 10 lux of natural brightness. This is 500 to 1,000 lux of harsh blue light. And what this light is doing to your body is absolutely shocking. It disrupts your melatonin, it increases your cortisol, it increases your ghrelin, the hunger hormone, suppresses leptin, the satiety hormone, makes you want to eat more food. So essentially, we want to be blocking this light and we want to give the brain the right frequency. And therefore, the evening lenses, which you could clip on seamlessly on the base frame, they're designed to mimic the exact color temperature of the bonfire at 1700 kelvins. And they are engineered to filter 100% of the blue and only the highest frequency grain so that you could wind down, again, talking back about the nervous system and how light actually disrupt the nervous system. These glasses and the stories that I get from our clients when they wear them, even in summits, when people wear them, there's an instant decompression that happens. It's almost like an exhale. And this exhale happens naturally when we are reducing that stimulatory light that we're not supposed to be exposed to after the sunset. And what I noticed is that not all orange tinted glasses are created similar. I've tested a dozen of them. And what I noticed is some of them did not effectively block the blue light. So there was massive spikes of blue that were still entering, even though the lenses were orange. And some of them were over blocking a lot of the green, meaning it's not as effective to wear them in the winter when the sun sets at 4 p.m. because they're going to make you really sleepy. So you want something in between that decompresses your nervous system and yet it keeps you able to socialize, cook, dance, talk with your friends. And this is exactly what happened when we hang out around the fire for thousands of years. At the beginning of a bonfire, we decompress, we play music, we share stories, we feel relaxed and calm, and yet we still have the energy to dance, cook, socialize. And by the end of the bonfire, when the wood turns into amber coil, that's when we feel extremely cozy and ready for bed. Now, why is that? It's because at that time, the light from the fire is turning from 1700 kelvins to around 1000 kelvins, and it's decreasing so much in brightness. It's those red coils that are still there, emitting a lot of red and infrared. And essentially, the nighttime lenses, which I have here, which you could clip onto the base frame as well, those are designed to wear half an hour or an hour before bedtime. And they filter out 100% of all of the blue, all of the green, and they decrease the brightness by 10 times to mimic the exact color temperature of 1000 kelvins, the color of the bonfire when it's actually ending.
I'll tell you, I noticed the difference just putting them on when you did. Just wow, it's like all of a sudden you get this almost immediate just calming of the eyes. It's just beautiful. I'll tell you, I love your glasses. I have had mine. Well, I have a few pair, but I ended up getting them. Gosh, it's been over 2 years now, and just amazing. They really make such a difference. I have noticed a big difference because a lot of my work is in front of the computer. And I was getting a lot of eye strain. And of course, very um, the adrenaline, the cortisol that exciting of the sympathetic nervous system, that autonomic nervous system. Just as you were saying, I was feeling that. And I have noticed a big difference where I am able to come down, especially when I do webinars in the evening. I mean, here on the East Coast, we don't get done until 7:30 at night. And that can be very invigorating, and just coming down. That's why I always wear these anytime I'm on the computer. And then I usually don't wear the orange while I'm doing it, simply because with some of the lighting, I do need to stay a little bit alert. But as soon as I'm done, they go on, and then I'm really able to start, relaxing and preparing, for bedtime. But I have noticed a huge difference. And for family members that I have purchased it for, Christmas, birthdays, they have said the same thing. Immediately within that day, within even a couple hours, they would say, wow, the eye strain, that was the big thing that they noticed, that the eye strain, and just not feeling so tense or just, bound up in a way. It was more of that, like you said so beautifully, just like that, just a nice relax for your brain, your body, your nervous system.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's something really interesting because those LED lights and screen, they emit a blue light that spikes at 455 nanometer.
Mhm.
And again, never throughout evolution we have been exposed to this frequency in isolation. In nature, this degenerative blue light is balanced by the regenerative red, orange, and yellow, and they create this symbiotic mix designed that we've designed to be exposed to. Now, the recent studies, what they showed is that this isolated blue light, whether you're exposed to it during the day or at night, and by the way, at night is the negative impact is a lot more exaggerated.
Oh, yeah.
What has been shown is that it generates the reactive oxygen species in our mitochondria, leading to inflammation, oxidative stress, and cellular damage. And there's also some research showing that this spike in blue light at 455 nanometer disrupts the mitochondria from going through a process. There's a natural process that the mitochondria go through. It splits and fuse back together so that they can continue to renew themselves and stay strong. And I'm pretty sure everybody listening is familiar with mitochondria is, but if not, those are the tiny little engines in the cells that break down the food into energy. They do a lot more than this, but that's just a simplified process of what they are. But essentially, when your mitochondria are not working properly, we are in trouble. In fact, Dr. Douglas Wallace from the University of Washington, he actually published, he won an award for a groundbreaking discovery. And when I first heard that discovery, I was absolutely shocked. He said 90% or more of modern chronic diseases are originating in the mitochondria losing their efficiency. Now, what's one big reason the mitochondria lose their efficiency? It's not what most people thought it is. It's not only food, it's not only lack of exercise. It turns out it's also the light problem, because it turns out that light controls the mitochondria, and it controls the electron transport chain in the mitochondria, which essentially leads to the generation of energy. And darkness controls what we call mitophagy, which is the mitochondria's ability to replace old mitochondria with brand new mitochondria. But to bring this back to the 455 nanometer frequency, this frequency has been shown to essentially, when mitochondria is under these frequencies, it continues to divide, but it fails to fuse back together. And this breaks down and weakens the mitochondria. And my theory is that's one of the big reasons of why people feel eye strain, headaches, and agitation in front of those screens, because essentially the eye is extremely condensed with mitochondria. Like the eye and the brain are one of the highest organs that are concentrated in the mitochondria and the brain in our body. And this light essentially completely disrupt this natural flow of fusing and splitting.
Yeah, I'll tell you, it's really amazing that the work that is being done, the research that is being done in healing with light and sound. You know,
Mm.
it's all frequency. And for science to really start delving in and appreciating how much these different frequencies and in the forms of which they are, being received, delivered, and received impact us at that subcellular, even quantum level. It's a beautiful thing to see. I mean, Nikola Tesla had even commented about that way back, saying that we, and I'm totally paraphrasing here, we will be light years ahead in so many things when we start thinking in terms of frequencies. So, I
Yes.
mean, again, there is more to it than that. Just a brilliant mind, way ahead of his time. Another thing that I wanted to ask you about, or I want to make sure that our listening audience knows, is that you have done so much more research, not just in how you designed these glasses, how you have determined the filtration and the different lenses. And I mean, really dove deep into the specificity of that, but also into the materials that you use to make these glasses. Because one thing, that you have stated before is how this junk light, this artificial light, it is a toxin on our system. We are absolutely swimming in a toxic soup with, the air, the water, our food, all these things that are inundating us with that. Yeah, EMFs and again, dirty light causing those effects. So you had the foresight of lowering that toxic load by using specific materials and products. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So after I made the first pair in collaboration with an optical engineer from Florida, at that point I had zero intention to start a business. And this optical engineer learned about my story and my transformation on the farm. And I was sharing with him everything I was learning about the science of light. And he was absolutely fascinated. So he essentially agreed to help me. And it was a long process of 9 months of failing over and over again. And it was fun. I was like in my garage. Uh, Gloves on, face mask on, hunched over, manually tinting lenses from morning till night. And after 9 months of failing over and over again, bam, we created the first pair that actually blocked the right amount of light at the right time of the day. And at the time, I had to, like insert the lenses in a frame that was made from like junk plastic materials, and essentially, I start experiencing that impact on myself. And what I noticed back then is that all of my friends and family and people that I met while I traveling, they had a light problem. And I decided to make 30 pairs. And I wanted to run an experiment. But at the same time, I was really feeling bad about making those 30 pairs. Why? Because at the time, for almost 5 years, I was living with indigenous people up north. And I was becoming so much aware of my consumption and the things that I choose to use on a day to day basis and the impact of my choices on the planet and on the future generation. Am I choosing plastic or am I choosing something that is biodegradable? And oftentimes, it's very hard to make the good choices because you don't find them. So when I made the first 30 pairs, I was inundated with intense amount of guilt because on one side I wanted to help my friends and family, and on the other side, I was really feeling guilty about my choice of material, of choosing this low quality plastic to frame the lenses into. And what happened is that I started giving those classes to friends and family, and I had shared with them 7 steps to harnessing the power of light. And what happened was absolutely mind blowing. Each one of them began to heal and reverse their issues. So, my mom, who had been battling with chronic insomnia for over 8 years, started sleeping for 8 hours every single night within a week or so. My sister, who had acne and chronic fatigue, became a, is now one of the most energetic and vibrant entrepreneurs that I know. And many of my friends who had digestive issues were able to clear their issues without actually changing this diet. So this is when it really hit me. And I realized, oh, wow, like this is not a personal transformation anymore. It was transforming the life of others. And I was sitting with this dilemma of feeling a tremendous amount of resistance to the idea of starting the business. So Joy, my sister, had to really, really, really convince me. And it took her a lot of hard work for me to actually get convinced. Because again, you want to imagine that I was living a completely different lifestyle. I had no phone, I had no computer, I had no bank account, and I was literally living in complete alignment with the land, eating whatever grows around me. And I literally raised everything that we ate. Like I spent my days nourishing the plants, tending to the animals, cooking meals from scratch. And the idea of starting a business back then wasn't resonating with me. And one of the big reasons it wasn't resonating with me is because of the choice of materials. I said to Joy, listen, I could see the value in this. I could see that all of the people around me have a light problem. And I feel this desire and responsibility within myself to step up and do something about it and to start waking people up about the truth there is to light and the power that it holds. And I knew that this tool was a very powerful tool in the modern world because I could teach people until tomorrow about the detrimental effects of artificial light. But if I'm not giving them a tool to mitigate that effect, I'm also shooting them in the foot. So I said to Joy, listen, if you could find materials that are absolutely 100% biodegradable, I'm all in. I'm 100% in with you on this. So thanks to Joy, she did a lot of research and she went above and beyond, walked the extra mile, and it was really challenging and really difficult. And she was able to source some of the highest quality materials on the planet. And all of the glasses that we make, they're made from 100% FSC certified wood. Now, what does that even mean? It means that the wood that we're sourcing comes from a sustainably managed forest. And also, we have another type of bioacetate that comes from Italy, which people make infused with plastic. That's far from being plastic. It's essentially made from plant based materials that are 100% biodegradable. So if you put that frame underneath the ground, eventually it will biodegrade. And the third type of material that we chose to use is the beautiful stainless steel that is sitting on your face right now. So that was a big part of the journey.
And
And
I
up
have
until
to say, even the nose pieces, they are not plastic, and I love it. They are the stainless steel. I love that. I've never
yes,
seen that before. I was so excited when I took this out of the package. And by the way, the packaging, these beautiful cork um, holders, with this soft, velvety inside. I mean, it's just beautiful. I love it. Just
yes.
amazing.
So that was
So,
that was a big part of that journey, actually.
well, it's like I don't think there's anything you haven't thought of in all of these details. I mean, it really is the entire package, the entire package. Even right down to the boxing material. Uh, Very thoughtful, sustainable, really thinking of the earth, the people. Uh, just beautiful. And I think that just further highlights the difference between VivaRays and all of the others, and is why your company is the one that I actually recommend to clients, and that the DNA company gives to in certain programs. We have your glasses as part of that. Just amazing. There is something that I want to circle back to, and that is getting back to light, to how some of the studies. Now, I know you referenced a couple in the beginning with Dr. Horowitz, I believe, is that when we're talking about the impact of light, your glasses, and what you have learned to depression. wearing the glasses, how that impacts the brain, and maybe even, bringing in a little bit more specifically your own story. I know you've covered some of that, but really working into the mental health aspect and depression itself.
Yeah, absolutely. So here's the thing with light, it's challenging because here's what most people think about light. They think of it as something superficial that makes vision possible, right? You turn on the light, you see what's around you in the room, you turn off the light, you stop seeing. Now, here's what's absolutely surprising, and most people like really get surprised when they hear this. Light is the most powerful force that shapes and molds every aspect of our biology. And as I mentioned, and I'm going to repeat this again and again and again, light is information. And it's one of the most powerful information that our body needs in order to function properly. And just like when we expose our minds to a junk information coming from news, we feel down, we feel depressed. Similarly, when we expose ourselves to junk light, it has a tremendously negative impact on our brains. Now, imagine this. Imagine if there's someone who's slowly poisoning your family's mind and you had no idea. Now, that's exactly what's happening in today's world. In 2022, there's a research that happened where they exposed mice to the same blue light that is glowing from your LED lights. And guess what? It's absolutely shocking. Within 4 weeks, these intelligent animals could not remember how to navigate a simple maze. Now, their hippocampus, that brain memory center, was literally shrinking. And when they looked at the brain tissue under a microscope, they saw something extremely shocking. They found that the mitochondria were literally fragmenting and breaking apart, just like tiny engines exploding under stress. So, this artificial light that is illuminating our living rooms, the streets, the malls, the airports, when we sit down and watch a Netflix movie, it's not just keeping us awake. They're literally fragmenting the powerhouse in our brain, the mitochondria. And there's very interesting research where essentially they took fruit flies, which are creatures that share about 75% of our genes, and they exposed them to this blue light that we are exposed to constantly from our LED lights. Now, guess what happened? This blue light literally shortened their lifespan and caused brain degeneration. This light was literally cooking their brain from the inside out. So now you may be thinking, okay, these are some of the studies that have been done on mice, that have been done on fruit flies, and you may not relate because we're not a mice, we're not a fruit fly. But here's what actually makes my heart ache with the fierce love of every parent, grandparent, and teacher, and it touches me deeply because as a kid, you may know that I was tremendously impacted by the light that I was exposed to. I was labeled with ADHD, and I spent an enormous amount of my years fighting and resisting, fighting for my own survival, literally. And yeah, imagine being an 8-year-old kid whose soul is literally screaming to feel the warmth of sunlight on your face. But instead, you're literally feeling trapped because nobody is believing you. You are deprived from everything that makes you feel alive and shoved into a concrete box under buzzing, flickering LED lights. And that kid was me at school. In Lebanon, I was that ADHD disaster that literally made every teacher bang their head in the wall. But underneath all of the chaos that I caused, I had only one desire in my heart, only one, and it's so simple. And that's what bugs me. My desire was to be outside in the arms of Mother Nature and to feel the warmth of sunlight on my face. My cells were literally crying for that. Instead, I was labeled and I was continuously called the kid who's broken and who is essentially useless and crazy. But essentially, I go back to those days and I like parents to hear this, because what if your kid is not crazy? What if there's nothing wrong with your kid? What if your kid, their little soul knows the truth that no other adult is listening to? And we have evidence today that it's actually the case. In 2024, there's a study that followed kids living in areas with artificial light at night, and what they found is, like, it absolutely shattered my heart. Kids who grew up bathed in artificial light had 3 times higher rates of attention problems, anxiety, and depression compared to kids who were not exposed to artificial light at night. And that happened due to low dopamine in the brain. In fact, Dr. Samer Hitar, a circadian biologist, he published many papers showing how very little amounts of blue and green light at night entering our eyes activate an area in the brain called the habinula, known as the disappointment center. And it has been shown that people who are exposed at night will wake up with much less dopamine in their brain the second day, meaning that they will feel less motivated and they will feel more depressed and more anxious. So we're literally raising the first generation of humans whose developing brains have never, not even once, experienced the healing power of the true darkness. Their precious mitochondria are being programmed for failure before they even learn how to tie their shoes. And that breaks my heart. This concentrated pulse blue light from screen doesn't just destroy dopamine, it creates a state of heightened suggestibility, making those developing minds easier to influence and to control. And there's a famous podcast by Dr. Jack Ruse where he was actually talking about this and about DARPA and all the experiments that were happening. And he was actually exposing companies like Meta, Google, and Apple owning those patents of this blue light technology. And according to him, he says that they know exactly what this light is doing to the brain, and they use it to keep people glued to their screens, which makes sense, right? Because you want to pay. When people are glued to their screens, they get more money, and it's a vicious cycle. So
Yeah, where my mind starts going when you were mentioning about that down regulation of dopamine, don't have enough dopamine, waking up and getting into that depression and suggestibility. I think of the genetics of it as far as what we look at in our DNA 360 reports for the DRD2 gene, which correlates to dopamine receptor density. So if you have a child that that has low density, very minimal density of those receptors, they're already having a difficult time getting that pleasure and reward feeling. So you just lessen the amount of dopamine that's being released. I mean, it's not just depression, but it's like deep depression. And then if they clear those neurotransmitters, the dopamine, very fast, they barely have a chance. And I can just imagine, these poor children that end up getting labeled that, there's something wrong with them, let's get them on medication, when all they need, well, I can't say all they need, but something that would profoundly, possibly profoundly help them is just changing the light exposure, getting them outside, maybe even using your glasses. And I will tell you, I have some pediatric clients who've had some issues, who have been labeled ADHD, and I actually have recommended your glasses, and they've been wearing them, and behaviors have gotten better. So, I mean, just anecdotally, I have seen it, and it is
yes,
amazing.
yes, I'd be so curious to do my DNA test and to
Oh,
see. Yeah, that'd be super cool.
yes.
That'd be super cool to do. But yeah, what you're saying is definitely resonating, and it's even backed up by one of the greatest legends, Dr. John Ott. Back in 1973, John Ott looked at these kids and he felt what I feel right now, like pure love and determination to guide them. So essentially, Ott walked into the first grade classroom in Florida, and he replaced those toxic fluorescent lighting with full spectrum sunlight. And then something absolutely magical happened. Literally, within 1 week, just 7 days, the hyperactive kids who could not sit still and focus became calm and focused, and even their grades at school increased. So, what does this tell you? I mean, these precious kids did not need to be labeled and did not need to be judged. All they needed, in my opinion, is just one person to get curious about them instead of judging them, and to perhaps see them not as problems to be fixed, but as God sent messenger to humanity to teach us about our own imbalance. Because those kids are literally informing us about the tremendous chaos that we are causing in our indoor lighting environment.
Right. So this could be an empowerment moment, a call to action for our audience members that starting in their own environment, in their home. If you have kids, well, even if you don't for yourself, but especially if you have kids. I mean, I've got my grandbabies here, and really shifting over to the types of lighting that you use in your home, to what you and they are being exposed to. But then even getting other parents involved, maybe talking to the school, doing what this doctor had done to start changing the lighting, and letting that grow, having those changes. I think that number one, it's the education, which I think that this podcast, your information, you being on here, and that's why we keep having you on, because there's so much fantastic education that needs to be gotten out there, so people know what's going on, know what's happening to their bodies, knowing, hey, here's something that can be done, and then handing the baton over to them through that empowerment to make those changes and saying, you know what, there's science behind it, there's proof behind it. And I think that is absolutely amazing, which brings me to one of my last questions, which makes me very sad because I love talking to you. And that is, what do you see, or where do you see VivaRays heading? More of that long term, like, or even saying in the next 5 years, what do you see your company and this information going?
Yeah, thank you for asking this. It's essentially what I meditate on and ponder on for hours every single day. So here's the thing: we truly believe that in 100 years from now, people will look back at artificial lights the way we now look at smoking. We will literally feel ashamed that there was once upon a time when we accepted to live under these toxic lights that are the root cause of chronic issues and hormonal disruption. So, and I'm getting goosebumps. I think I exist and VivaRays exist because we want to collapse this timeline from 100 years to 10 years, and to wake people up about the truth there is to light and the power that it holds. It's more important than ever before. And, like throughout this past 7 years, the one thing that I learned is that the quality of our life is entirely dependent on the quality of light that is entering our eyes. And I wish that somebody told me this when I was an 8 years old kid struggling at school. So, where are we heading? You probably know that for many years now I've been like sharing a system called the 7 steps for harnessing the power of light, which when I give my keynote presentation, I share this at the end of the presentation, and I tell people that these 7 steps have the power to transform your relationship with light in just days, not months. Now, here's what I learned. After teaching those 7 steps to thousands and thousands of people, I have observed that information and even the right tools alone aren't always enough to change people's behavior. And as much as we wish that we can change people's life with information, from my own experience, sadly, it's not always the case. There's always these go getters that get it and go do it. But there's a tremendous amount of people who have different styles of learning and processing who will not take this information and actually make use of it to change their behavior. And that's really sad. So, as I realized this, and by the way, I'm a go getter. And once I learn something, I go big on it. And like being that, I've assumed that everybody is like this. And that's not the case. And it's not that I'm better than anybody else. It's different type of learning, essentially.
Mhm.
So when I realized this, I first felt sad, and then I turned my sadness into energy. And I start asking myself, okay, if that's the case, what can I do to serve more? So we've set a new goal that literally made my business consultant think that we're losing our mind. The goal is to help 1 million people to live in rhythm with nature's light and dark cycles by 2030. Now, why did my business consultant think that I'm losing my mind? Is because what I said to him is only selling the glasses is not going to help us achieve this goal. While the tools are amazing and they help people, tools alone are not enough, information alone are not enough. So I knew that we need to tap into a new place of thinking about helping people to change their behaviors. So here's where we're heading. It's exciting. We're literally investing thousands of dollars right now with behavioral scientists from the tiny habit method to actually solve the one problem that, in my opinion, is destroying humanity. The question that came to me is like, why brilliant people struggle to change even when they have all the tools and all the information they need? So to solve this problem, we're now working on creating a system that is designed for all type of humans. And humans are emotional, they need different things. So we're designing for empathy mapping, community support, and deep behavioral science that is based on tiny incremental action, so much so that at the end of a program, you arrive to your goal effortlessly without feeling any resistance, and you celebrate yourself without feeling any shame or guilt.
Wow, that is amazing. I am so excited to be able to witness that. And in a little bit, being a part of that to be able to offer this platform for you to get that information out there. Thank you. Oh my gosh. Roudy, you are just such an inspiration. I love you. You are wonderful. And I am it excites me and makes my heart sing. The passion, the integrity, the love that you have for everyone around you, for the world around you, that all you want to do is just to make it a better place. And honestly, I believe you have already done that, and you are on the path with the momentum to continue to do so at an even larger scale. And it is so exciting. And I
Yes.
want to
I
say
mean,
thank you.
yes. Yeah, I'm so grateful for you and for the DNA Co. Like you've been like so supportive, and you've had me on the podcast so many times, and you've shared about our mission and our product genuinely with your community, and it's such a blessing to connect with genuine people who are truly driven by a tremendous desire to give all of themselves to others, because that's why we're all here. Uh, when we speak about God or the universe is love, and love is this ability to give of ourselves fully. And I'm so grateful because though I've realized and I felt sad to learn that, oh, information is not enough, tools are not enough, but yeah, I realized that in that moment of sadness, It was just another opportunity to give more of myself and to expand of my ability to offer all of myself to the world. And this love is genuinely the most powerful thing on earth, and it's the thing that energizes us, and is the thing that we are all seeking. And as we continue to live, and as we continue to learn how to give more of ourselves, we tap into the power of love, and we become who we are meant to become, really.
Yes. And I look at it as not just enriching ourselves, we need to fill our own cups so then we can then fill other people's cups. It's like that one more person, that one more life that we can touch, that we can educate, that we can empower, that we can help change to light their fire within. And that is what is so exciting. So I have to say, it is always such a tremendous pleasure to talk with you, to hear your stories, to hear your brilliance, you know, the information that you have gathered, deep diving into this research and being able, to talk about it and synthesize that into your vision is just such a beautiful thing. Where can people find you if they want to learn more?
Yes. So our website, vivarays.com, VivaRays.com. That's where you can find all of our products. Anything we're going to be launching, such as the Light Protocol method, is going to be living there. You can also access a lot of free blogs, which essentially every blog is a deep dive on light and different aspects of health. And we write them in a way that is essentially, we like to break it down for people and to make it also fun, and then share stories that they could relate to. So most of the blogs are really easily digestible, and I hope that you could find a lot of benefits reading them, and that you could implement this information into your own life and make it actual knowledge, because information alone, again, is not knowledge. And also, you could find us on Instagram at VivaRays. That's where we share a lot of my appearance on podcasts, educating about light, and as well as other posts with deeper dives on light and different aspects of health. And you could also download the 7 steps to harnessing the power of light on our website. And you could sign up to our email newsletter, which we send every Thursday. And we like it to be interactive. So we often ask people what do they want to learn about when it comes to light. And we do just that. We write about what people want to learn about.
Beautiful. Well, I want to say a big thank you to all of you, our audience, for tuning in to today's episode of the DNA Talks podcast. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment down below, especially if there's a certain topic that you'd like us to discuss here at the DNA Company. We, as VivaRays, we are here for you. We are here to fill your curiosity. So make sure that you let us know what you are interested in, and also where to find us. You can listen to this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. You can go to our website at thednacompany.com and even download our new app, The DNA Way. You can access all of our content there, our DNA Talks Digest, our webinars, and all the wonderful materials, as well as accessing your own DNA reports right from that app. So if you wish to learn more, please make sure that you add us to your list of like podcasts, so that way you will be notified when the new one comes out. And speaking of up to date, you can find us on Instagram at DNA Talks Podcast, as well as my own at Dr. Varden Official. So once again, thank you. Thank you, Roudy. Blessings to you. Enjoy Peru. Enjoy being up at that high altitude and Machu Picchu and all the glorious things that the area has to offer. And for everyone, we will see you at the next one. Take care.